You're listening to The Sole Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sneaker industry, Hollywood, and corporate America.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Sole Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sneaker, sports, and entertainment industries. I am your co-host, Muhammida along with...
Hey everybody, it's Nikita Newhall. Welcome back to a fresh new episode.
Yes, so today's episode, it's not like our typical episodes. I mean, where we have a very specific kind of like sneaker connection to the person, but I just really felt like this, was important for us to talk about because I saw this week, actually was yesterday, was the Notorious BIG, Biggie Smalls, would have been his 50th birthday. Did you see that, Nikita?
Baby. So yes, Muhammad, I'm so happy to be having this conversation about the Notorious BIG, Biggie Smalls, such an icon in our era and hip hop music. I don't really have a lot of interaction with Biggie. I mean, this I think mainly is going to be you carrying the episode, but I can tell you that I am in the middle of eating some Rap Snacks icon, the Notorious honey jalapeno flavor potato chips. So there you go.
And that is your Biggie connection. I'll take that.
That is my Biggie connection. I'll put a picture on there so you can, link it to the bio because, I am definitely on top of these Rap Snacks.
Yes.
Icon, Notorious honey jalapeno potato chips. Rap Snacks, they might want to sponsor Sole Chronicles. I mean, since they're getting all this love.
Right? Yeah, we need to holler at them. We need to holler at them. I gotta back up on Biggie. Okay, so not only am I like just a huge Biggie fan, you know how everybody's got their top five. Biggie is 100% in my top five. I think he's amazing artist, writer, lyricist, all that. But we're gonna take it back. Okay, so I definitely have this connection with like the whole bad boy family. I went to Howard, Diddy went to Howard, and then I just kind of always knew everybody in that whole circle. So even when Biggie's first album, I lived in New York when like all that stuff was happening, the party and bullshit. I feel like I was at that party with him and Tupac on the stage, and they did like, this famous verse. I would see Biggie like in New York, just like, I don't even think he was a star. He was just coming out because he was like super chill. I just remember seeing him outside of a party before, just like super calm, not even no like hip hop star kind of vibe, so he was just a part of the fabric of New York City hip hop life, right? And then when the album came out, like this was the first project of Puffy on his own, right? When he started Bad Boy Records after leaving Uptown. So it was like huge pressure. But definitely, people have a lot they can say about Puffy, but he is definitely a marketing genius. And I remember they were having some kind of party. It could have been the album release party. I'm not really sure, but some kind of party. And I went to the Bad Boy office, which was on like 19th Street or something like that in New York, like way back in the day, and to pick up the tickets. And they were like in the office putting together these promo packs with Biggie and Craig Mack, and it was like the Big Mac, and it was like in a
oh, that's cool.
Yes, right. So it was in this like hamburger carton, kind of like the things you get from McDonald's, and then they had a bun, and then we old school, right? Because in between the bun, it was like a cassette tape.
Muhammada, I have to find that promo item. Somebody out there has that. We have to get a picture.
Somebody has it, but definitely there are pictures of it. Listen, so it was a single cassette of Biggie, and it was a single cassette of Craig Mack, and it was called the Big Mac.
That is genius. You cannot outdo Black people. I don't care how hard you try. You're going to hurt yourself trying to outdo Black people.
Yeah.
That is genius.
Yes, that was genius. And I think they were sending that out to like radio stations, radio DJs, media, stuff like that. So, I have been like just really, aligned with like, and this was like, at this point, I don't even know if I was working at William Morris yet. Could have been. I'm not sure. So it was like early on, very early on. So those were like the days of, you know what I mean, just early Bad Boy, early Biggie, just being a fan, being in the whole kind of like mix of all that. I remember seeing, oh wait, he has this producer. Easy Mo B. Easy Mo B was one of the producers on this track. I remember just like running into Easy Mo B on the streets in New York, right? So it was just kind of like these times, and Biggie was like the soundtrack of like this time, right? So that we're gonna start there, right? Now, we've talked in other episodes where I had a casting agency, right? So, I used to do casting for music videos, a ton of music videos. And I got called one day to do casting for like this new group, right? They weren't out. This is their very first song. And they gave me this list of what they needed. They had like these girls. Of course, every video needs girls, probably some police. I don't know. But I just remember there were these twins, these like cute girl twins that I used to like cast all the time. I forgot their names, but they are in the video. They are the love interest of Biggie in the Junior Mafia Get Money video, right?
Shut up.
Yes, those these two girls. I forgot their names. I mean, we're gonna pull them up on social so you can see the clip of the video. And I just remember this particular video was like super low production, cost. So like they weren't even paying us that much. So for some reason, I used to go to every single shoot, but I did not go to this shoot. So bizarre. I did not go to this shoot. But we sent the talent. We sent the talent to the shoot. These girls, all the love interest girls. And I think I said before in the Little Kim episode that I knew it was a rap group. I didn't know there was a girl in the group. And since we cast all the girls, when the video came out and Little Kim's part came on, I was like, who this? We didn't cast
her. Wait a minute. You was wondering who Lil Kim was?
Listen, this is Junior Mafia's first video, right?
Right. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, we knew the group was all boys. We never knew that there was a girl in the group, and she just popped up. She's at the end of the song, and we're like, who this? I didn't cast her. So yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that was a crazy shoot too, because I think we had this like really I'm just using this term, air quotes people, this really bougie model who we sent to be in the video. And I remember her calling us from set, like, I did not sign up for this. They're talking about like rubbing tits and something, and I don't want to be in this video.
Muhammida, you have to put in the chat who the model was.
I don't think she's like, I never saw her again after that. And I'm not sure if she's still, I feel like they still use her in the video, but so this is Junior Mafia Get Money video, guys. So I definitely worked on that. And then I worked on some other Little Kim videos too, doing casting as well. Again, even though I didn't meet Biggie, I was still like, just like I said, just constantly being involved with, his music, the label, things like that. And then, very shortly after that, he passed away. You know what I mean? His whole career was literally like 4 or 5 years. If that, to be honest, I don't even know if it was that long. There is very short. So the next thing I knew, I was listening to Hot 97 and heard that he had been killed. And I'm definitely, empathy for anyone who I hear pass away and any celebrity, but sometimes I just hear it. I'm like, oh, that's sad. But him, I was like, oh my God. I felt it, probably just being in New York, living in New York. And like I said, just being so close to like all the bad boy people, as I mentioned that time that I went to get the tickets, it was Groovy Lou who was giving me the tickets, so it was like this was, and Groovy Lou was Biggie's stylist. I totally forgot to even mention that, right? So, this was like family, like he felt close. He was like literally a half a degree away from my whole life, right? So, I really, really felt that loss. And then, just him being in our peer group, all that, it was, it definitely had an impact. And then just living in New York before I even opened up the cafe, which we're going to talk about that. Like me and my friends would have these little Biggie parties, like whenever March 9th came around, which was the day that he was, killed. We would have these little Biggie parties where we would play all Biggie, music. So, I mean, like, I definitely love Biggie, which played a role into, yes, my entrepreneurial endeavor.
I don't know. I don't know why. I think maybe just because of your upbringing and background, we probably should have said that the Sole Chronicles is about sneakers, entertainment, corporate America, and entrepreneurship
Yes.
because you are the consummate entrepreneur. I don't think I have ever known you to not have something of your own that you'd created that was generating revenue, even when you were working these corporate jobs. So I don't know why we didn't throw the entrepreneurship part onto this podcast. But one of the things that you did, like, I don't know, you had the casting company, you had your real estate investments, and, just so many other things. But I was completely blown away when you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm living in Brooklyn now, where I bought this cute little brownstone, and now I'm going to open a cafe. And I was like, wait, you about to do what? You're like, yeah, I'm opening a cafe and it's going to be cool. It's going to be a place, for artists to hang out, and it's just going to be a community thing. And I was just like, you know anything about running a restaurant? Like, what did you do? You were like, I'm just going to buy, look, Muhammida, I will never forget this. You're like, well, I'm going to buy a panini maker, and we're going to have coffee. So I'll buy an espresso machine. I'm like, you know how to make paninis? So again, like, when I heard of this endeavor, I just kind of shook my head and was like, there is nothing that Muhammad can't do. So I would love for you to tell the people about that business endeavor of yours and how Biggie Smalls kind of plays into this.
So as you mentioned, Nikita, I had this like grand idea. Lord, some of these ideas, God, I don't know why you put them in my head. I don't know.
Why you make me do them?
Why you make me do them? Exactly.
It always end up being so dope, though, I must say. I've never seen one yet that I was like, ew.
Oh my
Always
God.
a total vibe and a hit. So
I had one of these like bucket list ideas to run a coffee shop. Now I know all of us have these like bucket list ideas. And I had this idea, and part of it was that, even though I was living in Brooklyn, and I forgot to say that I lived on Van Buren Street in Bed-Stuy, and like Biggie's first child's mother, I hate to be like, be like his baby mama, but like his first daughter's mother lived on my street. So yeah, that was another little connection there.
wow.
Because he was from Bed-Stuy. So anyway, I got this idea to do this cafe because I just felt like, even though I lived in Brooklyn, there wasn't like one place that I just love going, that like every time I went, I saw the people that I wanted to see, I heard the music I wanted to hear, and it was like the vibe that I wanted every time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to create that. That's going to be like the vibe of my place, right? And I found this location on Atlantic Avenue, and I didn't have the name for it yet. I know sometimes people have the name first, but I just really didn't have the name first. I just felt like it would come to me. I rented the place. I had this like whole idea that it was going to be a cafe in the day and a social club at night. Like, I had the whole vision, right? So Nikita, I would stand on the corner, right? Because it was on Atlantic Ave, but the street that dead ended into where I was located was St. James, right? Now, St. James is the street that Biggie grew up on, right? He grew up at St. James in Fulton, and then Atlantic is the next street over from Fulton Street, right?
Wow, this is just too much.
Yeah.
This is too much.
Yeah, so this is like every day I would walk past the apartment that he grew up on. But then when I would stand on my steps of the cafe, like when I was still in construction, phase, I would look across the street, and directly across the street from the cafe was this house. And it was the house that like all the Junior Mafia boys like grew up in and lived in. A lot of them still lived in there, and they would always be on the steps, right? So the whole crew, Nino Brown, like just all of them would be on the steps. And I would stand on the corner, and I would look across the street, and I'm like, this is so wild that I'm on like Biggie's street. Like, I'm like, how do I make a connection? Like, you know what I mean? I was like, there must be some way, but I wanted it to be done in a super cool way, right? So I was just thinking, I didn't want it to be like Biggie's, you know,
Right.
you know, right.
Right.
I didn't want it to be corny. I wanted it to be kind of cool because I was just going with this whole design vibe. And then I was thinking, I had this friend, and you know, as an entrepreneur, like there's not a lot of, you know, other friends of mine who are thinking in this way, who have businesses, you know. So there wasn't a lot of people for me to kind of like bounce ideas off of. Most people are like, girl, you crazy.
Yeah, that's why we keep it on the low.
So I had this
Just
friend, and I was like going through all these names, and somehow I thought of Frank White. Right now, people who are Biggie fans understand what that means. That is one of Biggie's aliases, that he calls himself Frank White, and he got that from this famous movie called The King of New York that was starring Christopher Walken. And in the movie, Christopher Walken, who was the king of New York, like the head mafia, you know, drug dealer, I don't know what, he was the head mob boss, and his name was Frank White. So Biggie was basically saying, I'm the king of New York, I'm Frank White, right? So he used that reference in a lot of songs. He mentions himself as Frank White in a bunch of songs. So I was like, hey, that right there, that's clever, right? So that is actually the name of the cafe. It was called Frank White. And
Love it.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, like I know my one of my good friends is the photographer Baron Claiborne, and Baron is the person who took like the most famous picture of Biggie with that crown on, right?
I know that exact image.
Yes. So I knew Baron, and I'm like, wow, this is great. So I mean, I asked Baron, could I have a copy of the picture? I mean, he made me like pay for framing, but basically he gave me one to put up inside the cafe. And that picture of Biggie with the crown also inspired the logo for Frank White, which I'll definitely post on our social so you guys can take a look at that. So so it was like all these connections, and and then you know, just hearing Baron telling the story of, I think this was Biggie's last photo shoot. That photo shoot was just a few days before he died. And the way that that crown came up, I think that crown was just a prop that Baron had in his studio. And he just told Biggie to put it on, right? And he said when he got the pictures back, Puffy hated that picture. He hated it. He like just thought it was so stupid. He said Biggie looked like Burger King. Like he hated that picture, which is crazy because now that has become the most famous picture. And I even think I saw from this whole 50th year, birthday, like the crown, like in this like case, like, so it became a huge thing, right? But so yeah, so I had all these connections. I opened the cafe. A lot of people would come in who weren't Biggie fans, obviously, because you're not a Biggie fan, you would not know that connection with him and Frank White. The people who didn't know would be like, who's Frank White? Is that your dad's name?
Oh my gosh. That probably would have been me though, true story, while I'm out here fronting like I knew.
Okay. So yeah, so that was my Biggie connection. And once in a while, some of the Junior Mafia boys would come, and I always felt really happy when that happened. Cause like at the end of the day, this place was kind of like in homage to a certain extent to Biggie. And for them to like, come in and feel comfortable in the space. I think eventually Little C's came in for like something. And then in the end, this was like right before I was closing it. They had the Biggie movie.
Yes.
You remember they had that Biggie biopic, and there was an actor who played Biggie. I don't remember his name, but he had to do a photo shoot for the New York Times. And guess what? They decided to use my coffee shop as the location.
Cut it out.
Yes.
What?
Yes. So, John Carmanica, something, I'm sorry, I probably pronounced the wrong name. He's like a longtime music journalist. He was the writer, and I think they did the interview in the shop and then the photo, or maybe just the photo shoot. But yeah, we do have some pictures of that actor at that photo shoot. So definitely, this is like a lot of connections with Biggie. And okay, Nikita, so the last episode, as I mentioned, we talked with Jenny Smith about this famous Motorola commercial. And the commercial, and tell us how the commercial ends, and then I'll tell you what I thought.
Okay, so the idea of the commercial, it's shot in like a Moroccan desert, and it is all of these artists piling up in a phone booth. And the idea is like a million songs in your phone kind of thing, right? And Madonna's starring in the commercial. This is for people who maybe didn't listen to the Jimmy episode, right? So Madonna's starring in the commercial, and then there's just a ton of other people in it, from Little Richard, Iggy Pop, Maya, Common, A. Marie, just like a lot of people. Questlove. So at the very end, after everybody is piling into this phone booth, there's a voice that says, and another one. And so Biggie is trying to squeeze himself into the phone booth, and Madonna is like, Biggie, no. So we booked just about everybody in that ad. But of course, by that time, Biggie had passed away. So obviously we just had to get the name and likeness usage rights, and used sort of like a stunt double to play his role. So that's how that all came about. Now, what did you think?
Okay, I wasn't putting timelines together, 2 and 2 together or anything, because if I would have done that, I would have known it wasn't really Biggie in there. And they don't really show his face, but I was like, oh, Biggie's in the Motorola commercial. Now this video probably was like 5 years after the man died. I don't know. So it didn't make any sense.
You thought he was actually in the commercial? You thought I booked Biggie from the beyond? From the great beyond.
Nikita, I just said that I wasn't calculating years. I didn't realize that it was just a Biggie likeness in the video. So
wow, yeah, it totally was. But still, it just made for such a great video, and again, a lot of creativity on Jimmy's part. But just the someone who looked like him, yes.
And then, just to see that how how his music was still like, after, even with all those other artists, the concept was to still add Biggie, but that was still huge too.
Right, and in many ways, he was kind of the star. He's the last person in the frame to come in, and just totally unexpected. So you're right when you talk about legacy and impact. And again, a lot of what we talk about here is about influence. So influenced you to really, you had this idea for the cafe, and just kind of, the Soho Club before the Soho Club was a Soho Club, right? Like just this hip, cool space for all the cool kids to hang out. But then to just, be able to do that with him as the inspiration, I think it's pure genius. It's making me think we need to do some Frank White pop-ups.
Yes, I know. Sometimes people are like, are you sure you don't want to open another cafe? I'm like, oh my God, that was like literally, I felt like I was getting my MBA. That's like the hardest thing I've ever done.
Muhammad, I would talk to you some days and you would just be like, Nikita, this is the hardest thing I have ever done. And I'm like, how? You have done so many hard things. And you're like, no. So that's why I'm saying just a pop-up, a night of all Biggie, some good vibes, some good food, and just move it around.
Yeah. The pop-up I can do. The part that did it for me was the cafe part, because that was just too deep.
I already knew. When you told me you was buying a panini maker, at that point, I was like, ooh, I don't even know, but okay.
And I did not even drink coffee. I had to learn how to make coffee when
That's
I
right.
Good Lord.
Uh,
But I will
but hey,
say this, the cafe was nominated as one of Time Out's best new coffee houses in the city of New York, not Brooklyn, in the city of New York, nominated 1 out of 4 coffee houses in the city. Like that just blew me away. I will never forget that.
as well, it should have been a true pioneer, influencer, innovator, visionaire in every sense of the word.
Yes.
Kudos.
Yes. So, well, that's our thoughts. We just couldn't let, Biggie's 50th birthday pass without, just saying some words in memorandum. No, in memoriam. Is that a word?
Or in memory, we can just keep it
In
real
mem-
simple.
I know. Why am I making it difficult?
I mean, we know you got that big old degree from Howard, but we can just keep it. It can just be in memory of. It's okay.
In memory of, yeah, because he's definitely, one of the most famous rappers to ever do it, one of my favorites. And, we want to wish Biggie a happy 50th birthday and rest in peace, Biggie.
Absolutely. You know what? Thank you so much, Muhammada, for giving us a peek into your private world and private life. And, maybe in some of the future episodes, we'll talk about some of your other entrepreneurial endeavors, because I definitely think that the Sole Chronicles community will be inspired by them. So thanks so much for sharing. This has definitely been a great conversation. And like you said, happy birthday, BIG, rest in peace. And thanks to all of our listeners for joining us on another episode of the Sole Chronicles.
Yes, and be sure to follow us on social media at the Sole Chronicles on all platforms. And let us know what you thought about today's episode. And let us know what your favorite Biggie Smalls song is too.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yes. All right, guys. Until next time, take care.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to The Sole Chronicles, the podcast navigating life and times in the sneaker industry, Hollywood, and corporate America. Be sure to join us for another exciting episode.